You ever notice the more you get your life together, the more people start depending upon you? And then one day you look up and you're taking care of everything and everyone and quietly wondering, where did I go in all of this? If that sounds familiar, this is the conversation for you.
You found the Midlife Revolution Unleashed, the space to embrace your wisdom, reignite your passions, and move boldly into what's next. I am Coach Wayne, the VIP coach.
And I'm Coach Stacy M. Lewis. We're here with insights, stories, and strategies to fuel your midlife journey. So take a breath, lean in. Your revolution starts now.
Hello, and it's cold up in this place. You know, Stacy, it's all relative, isn't it? I know folks are having a series of cold weather these last few months, and so are we down here in Florida, So what can I tell you? By the time this is aired, Stacy, it will be spring right here in Florida. My name is Coach Wayne, folks, and I help midlife men navigate midlife so that their second half can be their best half. I'm delighted that I am co-anchoring this with my sister, Coach Stacy M. Lewis. Hi, Stace.
How you doing tonight, Coach Wayne, who has the audacity to talk about the cold? Welcome, everyone, to Midlife Revolution Unleashed. I am your co-host, Coach Stacy M. Lewis. I'm a nonprofit executive, a midlife women's coach, and a lover of God and his people, working on making sure I do that every day. It is always a pleasure to be here with you, Coach Wayne, talking about cold weather. What are we talking about tonight, Coach Wayne?
Stacy, today we're talking about that space that a lot of midlifers find themselves in, where you are taking care of those above you, the generation above, parents, grands, and you're also caught in the middle of still being responsible for the younger ones, even if they're young adults, but they're yours. And so sometimes we get caught in that in the middle, we call it the sandwich period. And the question is, who is taking care of us?
That is so true. I think one of the interesting things of this season is that we're also really trying to manage our own lives, our own responsibilities, and keep ourselves together at the same time. And so I think that that's what makes it a midlife reality. It's not something we can escape. But what we want to do is make sure that we give tools and tips and coaching techniques to encourage our listener to really care for others, but not lose yourself.
Yeah. And we're saying you can't escape the sandwich if you're responsible and accountable. But sometimes we got our sandwich stacked too high, right? You know what I mean, Stacey?
I do.
We're going too much on it. And we're saying to tone it down a bit and recognize that you can get exhausted and tired, but this kind of tired that we're talking about is a little bit different, right? It's the kind of tired, it's not the not having enough sleep kind of tired, Stacy. It's different.
It is this combined physical, mental, emotional exhaustion that sometimes occurs. That's something that I've experienced as a member of the sandwich generation, because of all of the weight, all of the responsibility that you're carrying, not only for yourself, but for the lives of others. And so it is a very complex type of exhaustion that is, sometimes you can get a good night's sleep and still wake up bone tired.
Stacy, sometimes I know culturally we operate differently from others.
Mhm.
For example, in people of color, we typically are owning the responsibility for taking care of our aging parents. And
Mhm.
so until it gets to a place where we're totally overwhelmed and they need specific kind of medical care.
Sure.
So
Sure.
we what we do oftentimes, we move in with them or have them move in with us, and we're not seeking recognition, but we do this because same for those youth or children that
Mhm.
are moving on for college. We don't just cut the strings and let them go. Here we go, going to set up for them in the new space, scanning the place to make sure that they can be safe. Packing up our car or renting a U. Stacy, it never stops. It never stops.
You're absolutely right. It never stops. And um, it is that being the dependable one, right? Being always on. And that comes with a lot of weight. You become reliable. And at the same time, as you are moving into this new identity, you're also struggling or striving or trying to just manage it all,
Yeah.
and not lose yourself. That's the to me the challenging part. I can say as someone that has cared for aging parents, and to your point, launching young adults into the world and managing full-time job and business and trying to have a social life. It can really become a lot, and it definitely challenges the identity, and you lose yourself.
Yeah, you talk about identity. Sometimes we wear that
Mm,
as something that we must do. And we don't want to be neglectful in terms of our parenting or our role as a
mhm,
supportive member of a family, right?
mhm,
But we should stop and ask ourselves this question, and it's a real question that we need to answer. Are we doing too much? Are we carrying too much?
mhm,
And we
mhm.
must answer that question honestly.
Yes, and to your point of answering it honestly, to really let that question sit, right? Not just, am I doing too much? No, I'm not doing too much, and keep it moving, but to let it sit. And whether you are writing it down or, really just thinking about it, beginning to identify all that you are doing, whether you put it on paper like a good old brain dump, or in your phone, to really see, like, oh wow, I didn't realize how much I was doing, and how
Yeah.
that could help you really begin to identify, oh wait, am I carrying too much? Am I doing too much? It's a great question, Coach Wayne.
Stace, you ever had those folk who see you tied up, busy working at something, and they come and they say, "Hey, Stacy, I know you're busy, but," so you're saying to yourself, "But if you know I'm busy, why bother me? Keep it moving," you know? And we sometimes feel we just have to respond, right? Out of obligation, because we carry that I am the person that, especially if you're in a family where you have shown that you're most responsible, productive, you get things done. And so,
Mm-hmm.
guess what happens, Stacey? If I knew you were going to get it done, guess who I'm going to give the responsibility to? You.
That is that is so true. And I couldn't help but chuckle at the, I know you're busy, but eh, but what? Sometimes that's what I want to say. But what? It happens on the job. It happens in the family. I know you've got a lot going on, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, this takes us to this place where we have to figure out, how do we ground ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a serious question and a challenge. because people are leaning on you. At a certain point, you're going to give unless you have something, someone to lean on. So, who and what grounds you? How do you lean back when stuff is too heavy a burden?
Hmm.
Yeah.
For me, you always need somewhere to lean, right? Somewhere to land. My faith has definitely been helpful. Being a single person, having that good, real, true ride or die friend where you can put it all out there and there is no judgment. That for me has really been, that combination of my faith and knowing that God is there saying, come to me, come, I got you. All of you that are just weighed down and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And so that faith coupled with that, that bestie, that BFF, that best bruh, whatever y'all call it,
Yeah.
for me has enabled me to uh, have a spot to land, somewhere
Yeah.
to lean. How about you,
Yeah.
Coach Wayne?
Well, I can think just recently in an environment where I was asked to facilitate a team, and I'm doing this work on a weekly basis, and the team keeps growing. People keep sending people to the team, and it's becoming hard because when we want to, and we're looking at it critically, we're getting feedback, and so I'm also not only facilitating, but I'm doing the recording to give feedback so we can
Mm-hmm.
observe it, collecting data, as it were. And so I get a co-facilitator, and he's sitting back chilling. And I had to say, hey, bro, you start taking the notes and you start
Mm-hmm.
giving the data while I facilitate. Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes we have to create safety nets for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
boundaries to protect ourselves. And I didn't say no, but I didn't say yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, your no being your no and your yes being your yes, right?
Yes.
That boundary is certainly important. And that to your point, right? Of, you and I have been talking about the week that we're having with
Yeah.
all of the things that we're responsible for.
Yeah.
And that asking for help, right, is, I think, an important step. So whether you are using your faith to ask for help or using that circle around you to ask for help, asking for help is important.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gets tricky, Stacy. We love our people,
Hmm.
and I mean collectively, our people, and we love the people around us in terms of family and friends that we care about. But sometimes we lose ourselves and
Hmm.
perspective. And we have to know when to pull back and say, this sandwich season, um, you know, you could get eaten up, literally. And so there's a time and place that you have to decide on when to put the top piece of the bread on and call it a day. You've built enough of that sandwich. We have to be able to do that. And it's hard, but it's about preservation.
Yeah, and I love the way we phrase the sandwich season, because it's also important to remember that it is just a season.
Yeah.
While it may feel long, you may be in it, for a month or for a year already or for a number of years already. It is a season. And we can identify it as a season and engage opportunities and tools to help us manage the season well. When you started off with the audacity of talking about how cold it is in Florida, as we here in Pennsylvania just finished with another snowstorm, right?
Hmm.
For me, it is a season, but it is a season that I'm using shovels. It is a season that I'm putting down ice melt. It is a
Hmm.
season that I'm bundling up and wearing
Hmm.
my super long, super warm parka coat.
Hmm.
It's a season. And
Hmm.
just as this is a season, the season of taking care of both of my parents was just that. And I did realize um, at a certain point that yes, I had lost myself, and
Hmm.
just realizing in the grind, right, eating all kind of fast food, gaining weight, all kind of things happening, right, not taking the best care of myself because my focus was on caring for them, caring for my offspring, and everything in between as I managed that sandwich. And so giving ourselves permission to ask that question that you shared earlier, giving ourselves permission to acknowledge that it is just a season, that we don't have to do it perfectly, and that we can probably take some things off of our plates, even if we don't want to take those things off of our plates, to show
Yeah,
ourselves some grace.
powerful. And don't feel guilty
Mm. Mm-hmm.
as a result. Say yes because you're feeling guilt to take care of yourself, right? Um, no need to get frustrated. Just get real and recognize that you have to put the oxygen tank on yourself first, the mask, before you're able to respond to other people's needs and pleads around you. It's an opportunity, Coach Stacy, for us to do a little coaching right now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's ask our listeners something. When you say yes to everyone else,
Mm.
what are you saying no to for yourself?
I
Yeah,
think we should have entitled the episode that question,
yeah,
right? That is such a powerful question. When you say yes to everybody else, where are you saying no to yourself?
yeah, yeah. Your rest, your peace, your peace of mind, your time, your energy, because you can't be all things to all people, including yourself. Yeah.
I agree. Wayne, have you ever said yes to someone and as soon as the word yes left your lips, you like, what in the world was I thinking? Did I just say yes? Did I just say yes? Has that ever has
Well,
that
I don't
ever
want
happened
to
to you?
incriminate myself, but it's more recent than I want to speak on,
Okay.
for fear that someone may be listening in.
It's
But
well, so we'll just say it's still happening,
yeah,
right? And that while we have worked on our own boundaries and we are sharing these tools and tips with you, our listener, the reality is that these are things that we are still practicing. And
yeah,
I too, Coach Wayne, can relate to a time
yeah,
recently
yeah,
when I said yes. And then immediately I was like, I don't want to do that. Why did I
yeah,
say yes?
yeah, yeah. And Stacey, sometimes it's not that people are expecting too much of us. It's because we have never drawn the lines for limits, and
Mm.
so it's fuzzy. It's not clear.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You start a bad habit, so to speak, and
Yeah.
now you can't stop it because you've never really drew the line in the sand.
Yes. Yeah. And we have to show people, right? We have to show people our limits. They don't know. I don't know what your limits are, Coach Wayne,
Yeah,
and I'm just gonna go and go and go until I've either reached or breached your limits. And
yeah,
so remind yourself that people are not mind readers or body readers, the majority of them. And so don't hesitate to articulate your limits. you're not weak when you do that. That we all have limits. There are boundaries, to our emotional, physical level of endurance and exhaustion for a reason. And your love should not require you to disappear. You should be able to share what your limits are in a way that is loving and lovable.
Yeah, and this is the part that we really need for people to take home and hear and understand that this period is not your end.
Mm.
It's a shift. It's about redefining, reframing, reimagining. And so understanding that, recognize that it's an opportunity to weigh and balance the load you carry. And we always preach and say that at midlife you should understand not only what you don't want, but what you do want, and start crafting that for yourself. The
Yes.
shift. Yes.
Yes, that is part of the saging, right? It
Yeah.
is identifying what you want, identifying what matters to you, and writing that down, beginning to put that stake in the ground. And it doesn't mean that because you've identified it automatically puts the kibosh or halts the processes of what you're doing now. But it is that naming it, right? Calling that thing out like, this is important to me. And I have to find a way. And whether you're in communication, right, we have to find a way to help make the shift.
Yeah, yeah. You look at everything that you have learned and earned and
Mm.
yearned for, is an opportunity to put that all together, right? And to make that shift that you talked about, Stacy. It's time to build and from it, and seize the opportunity of being a giver, to
Hmm.
sometimes learning that it's a blessing to also receive. And
Yeah.
the greatest gift we can receive is the one we give ourselves, the gift
Hmm.
of space and grace,
Hmm.
so that we're not always in this sandwich season feeling stretched. Stacey, you know
Right.
what happened? You know what
What?
happens when you stretch a thing from both ends and you keep stretching from both ends? Imagine, just do that.
Mhm, mhm. I would imagine at some point it breaks.
It has to break.
It has to break.
Yeah.
And so, what if this season isn't here to break you? What if it's here to refine you?
Hmm.
You, Coach Wayne, talked about all of this saging, right? We have done all that we have learned, all the knowledge that we have amassed, the life's experience, what we've lived. Um, And all of that, right, helps us take this season and allow it to refine us. And so
Yes.
the question is, what if the season isn't here to break you? What if
Yes.
it's here to refine you?
Yeah. And to my brothers especially, ask for help. It's not a crime to say you need some help. So it shows, to be honest, it shows, I think, a level of intellectual maturity to know when to stop and say, hey, I need some help. And so ask for help, and, you know, lead a little bit differently.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
Delegate. Sometimes you can do that, even within a family. You don't have to delegate only in the office. You may have someone else who has gone to college before your last child, for example, if that's applicable. You can
Mhm.
delegate some of the responsibility of college life, navigation to that person, so that you can relax a little bit.
Yeah, and I think in that we get to look at it as an opportunity, not just an opportunity for us to, maybe be able to sit down and have a cup of tea or a cup, a beer or whatever your jam is, but an opportunity to allow someone else to step up, to
Yes.
allow someone else to grow. You're thinking about this sandwich generation and in my experiences of caring for my parents, I can vividly recall times when my son, who was, I don't know how old he was. He wasn't little, but he wasn't fully launched in the
Mm,
beginning. But him asking, like, okay, is there anything I can do?
mm,
And our nature, I think, as adults, as midlife people, as responsible people, is to say, no, I got this. We talked about that in another episode, right? I've got this. It's okay. um and I had to remind myself that this is the opportunity for him, not just to be a part of caring for his grandparents, but to learn,
yes.
right? That your elders need to be cared for.
Yes.
And so to see it as an opportunity, not only to get the help, the support that you need, but to also allow someone else to grow and step up and feel a part of the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Excuse me. And to your point, your son wanting to step in, when we learn that giving is not always about leaving from us, but also opening up so that we can receive what others want to give to us.
Hmm.
We're given a gift of making someone else feel a sense of contribution. And we have not quite mastered that oftentimes, even at midlife. We close out. Um, my elder sister, not Delane, that joins us. She's always, as the eldest one in the family, been the one that gives and takes care of everybody and does all this. And she's uncomfortable sometimes when she's visiting with me, and I say, "Come on, I'll take you to the store." And we go, and I hurry up and put my card. She's like, "No, no, I don't." But I feel so gratified, so good to know
Hmm.
that after all these decades of my sister looking out for me, you know, I can say to her, "Put it away. I got it."
Hmm. Hmm.
That makes me feel so good. And sometimes we are hard up on the receiving end to accept the gifts of others.
Yeah, yeah. I think in a future episode, not too far in the distance, we'll talk about some of the impact of birth order, right? And so that older, your oldest sister, right? That being the oldest, you've got that kind of probably tendency or training or expectations
Yes.
that were there. And the reality is that as we talk about um, being part of the sandwich generation or the sandwich season or just this midlife reality of caring for everyone without losing yourself, we were not designed to do it all on our own. And so when we look at the basic instruction before leaving earth, aka the Bible, there's definitely scripture that refers to you doing all the work. um is not the design. You are not supposed to handle this alone. And so even leaders were not meant to carry everything alone. A leader with no followers is just walking. So we
Amen.
really need to make sure that we are um, kind of living in a way that we are prioritizing not losing ourselves and helping others engage in opportunities so that they could be supportive.
Yeah. And if you find yourself in the sandwich season right now, know fully well that you're not alone. Lots and lots of folks are right there right now. And you have to make the decision that if you're going to be really any use to yourself and
Mm-hmm.
avoid burnout, you have to say no. You have to moderate. You have to be able to lean on someone or somewhere during times of demands on yourself. And again, recognize that because you have a family member that may be in your mind of need, you don't have to be the one that fills that need.
Yes, yes. And as you do that, to connect with your boundaries, to understand your boundaries or identify new ones, to have those honest conversations so that you can actively choose yourself, not selfishly, but actively choose yourself and not get lost in this process of being in the sandwich season.
Yeah, Stace, we say choose at this time power,
Mm,
purpose, peace, and prosperity.
mm.
That's the order of the day. At this stage, you have earned it. You
Yeah,
deserve
yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stacy,
Sir.
as we wrap up, I want to tell the good folks where to get some really A1 coaching. And so I'm looking at you because I need for you to let folks know that you're available for that stuff. And how do they find you, Miss Stace?
It would be my heart's pleasure to connect with midlife women in a way that they sense that they have a power partner to move through this season tapped into their confidence, their power, and ready to really live their dreams. I can be found at thestacymlewis.com if you are checking us out on the podcast players or on any social media platform. Our contact is always in the show notes. What about you, Coach Wayne?
Hey, go to my site, viptransformativeliving.com, and check on my handles there. There's social media handles there, plenty of them. Send me a DM or just reach out on whatever platform you choose and prefer. Holla to your man.
There we go.
Stacy.
Holler, holler. I would say, Wayne, in closing, um, this is not the end of your story. And while you might be holding the pressure or the weight of being in this season of life where you feel sandwiched, know that you still have more life to live and that we are here so that you don't lose sight of yourself. I'm Stacy. I'm cheering you on.
And I'm Coach Wayne. And guess what? I'll see you at the top.
Thanks for tuning in to Midlife Revolution Unleashed. We're grateful you're part of this journey.
If you love this episode, share it, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss another episode.
I'm Coach Stacy, and I'm cheering you on.
And I'm Coach Wayne, and I'll see you at the top.